Anyone else wish to speak during the public comment section? If not, that is closed. Back to business. Number 2 on your agenda here is budget amendments. Mr. Smith?
Just asked our finance officer, Ms. Holt would come up and go over these. We just have a couple this morning and one additional.
This morning in your agenda, you have budget amendment number 94, 96, and walk-on number 102. Number 94 is an increase for concealed weapon fees and fingerprint fees. Concealed weapons is an increase of $7,505. Fingerprint fees, $1,450 with the related expenditures. This is under the Sheriff's Department. The second one in your package is from the Sewer Department. It is an increase of capital outlay equipment, $60,900, with the appropriated fund balance being the revenue source of $60,900. Funds needed for purchase of mini excavator for cleaning out ditches. The walk-on budget amendment is a capital outlay vehicle expense in the Sheriff's Department, $27,615.35, with a reimbursement from the insurance on $27,615.35 to anticipate funds from insurance proceeds for total loss of sheriff's vehicle.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayo.
make a motion that we approve budget amendment 94, 96, and 102.
Motion's on the floor that we approve these amendments. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Daugherty.
just a quick question in regards to the mini excavator.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that a new?
Yes, that is new.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Holt.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Aycock.
before we go on to the next item, I was going to wait to the end, but I don't feel comfortable waiting. We just had something that happened in this room that's very disturbing to me.
Yeah.
With the things that's going on in this country today, the things that happened yesterday in Washington, I don't know, Mr. Parker, what procedures we have to do, but I do not appreciate any individual coming in this room toting a big box, regardless of who it is.
Thank you.
I apologize for interrupting, but I have got an issue with that. And thank you, security.
The deputy did look in the box, but Mr.
And
Aycock,
that's why
I certainly.
I stepped out, because I did verify with security. They checked. It was just paperwork and that type of thing, so there was nothing, that they had checked it out downstairs too.
I still got a problem with
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Mr. Bell?
Yeah, that's why I called the deputy over to ask him if he would check it out.
Thank you.
So he
Yes, sir.
did. And I agree with Mr. Aycock. I don't think you should bring boxes of things, stuff in here like that, you know.
Okay.
I
Good.
thought
We'll
the
talk
episode
about it as a
yesterday.
staff, because we need to look at some of the
Okay.
security stuff, because
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Aycock. Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank the deputy also. Thank you.
it's nice to have them here.
We have the presentation, proclamation, Mr. Smith on the Big Sweep Day, and we have some special guests, Mr.
We
Smith.
do. Ms. Barbara Byers is here with Clark Extension. She's the Wayne County Coordinator for 2013 Big Sweep Day in Wayne County, which is on October 5th, and Barbara's always excited about whatever she's doing, so we're glad to have her.
I am excited. May I present y'all with some information?
Is it in a box?
That's too much paper for in a box, man. We're picking up paper, we're not
So
delivering.
I'm learning. I need to send it over beforehand if I get to come again.
That's all right.
I do appreciate the time to talk to you about Big Sweep. I was recruited by Carolyn Parker back in, I think it was 97, and I truly enjoy doing it. I have several people who are signed up to go, and just wanted to give you a few facts. Did you know that a cigarette filter that gets flicked out of a window can last up to 5 years in our environment? And that plastic bag that blows out of the truck can last up to 20 years. So this is why we feel passionate about doing what we do. Big Sweep has been around since 1987. It started as Beach Sweep, And so it has spread. We have coordinators in all 100 counties that will be doing a clean up on October 5th. In Wayne County, we sort of go 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. We have school groups who come, Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops, and our 4-H clubs participate. Last year we had 17 sites with 232 volunteers, and we cleaned up an estimated almost 23 miles and collected almost 1,500 pounds of trash, of which we had a lot of building materials out on Ferry Bridge Road. That was sort of a first for us. It's interesting that the state reports that with all their trash that they picked up last year, that it equals almost 1,000 football fields 5 feet high in trash. So that's just 1 year. So if we get that here, I'm gonna be worried. But this year our theme is Be Amazing. That's our logo up in the corner. It's a superhero cape because we feel like all of our volunteers are superheroes. It was designed by a high school senior from Corinth High School. Each year we sponsor a t-shirt design contest. We also have an educational component that so there's a middle school curriculum called Undercurrents, and it lists all the DPI components, so it has science and math and language skills that we do that are available to our middle school students. So if I may, I'll read our proclamation.
Please.
That says, whereas Wayne County is rich in natural resources and beauty, and whereas water is a basic and essential need for all life, and whereas trash fouls our waterways as well as our landscapes, and whereas every citizen should be committed to keeping our environment clean and healthy by working together to preserve clean water and the natural beauty of our surroundings, and whereas the North Carolina Big Sweep is a statewide and global community effort to retrieve trash from North Carolina's waterways and landscapes. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby declare October 5th, 2013 as Big Sweep Day in Wayne County, and hereby further urges every citizen to do his or her part to restore the beauty and function of our lakes, streams, and landscapes by volunteering to participate in the 2013 Wayne County Big Sweep event.
We have a proclamation before the commission. What's the pleasure of the commission with the proclamation?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Motion's on the floor that we approve the proclamation as read. Any discussion?
Just a comment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Pate.
I appreciate exactly the work you're doing. It's sad that you have to do that. Long before I became a commissioner, every time I cut my grass in my yard, backs up to William Memorial Drive, and I have to pick up a bag of trash just about every time I cut grass. I took a recent trip to both South Carolina and Georgia. And in South Carolina, the fine is $1,000 in prison time. In Georgia, it's $1,200. You don't see the trash on the side of the road. Not like you do here. Perhaps we need to push that on up to our legislative delegates and make it a bigger fine and threat of prison time. We'll stop this. It's a shame. I hate to see it on the side of the road. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank
We'd
you.
also ask, Mr. Chairman, particularly as it relates to some of the larger sweep efforts, you can always dial star HP, if you're on some of the main highways to report littering. But if, and in these cases along rivers and along some of these off-road sites, which we run into large sites now, if and we'll put this on the screen, so I'm reminding our AV folks to put it up, 919-689-2994, and that's extension 310, or cell number 919-222-7124. And if you will, if we have some information, a license plate, that's what we need, and that will help us go out, and we'll actually survey the areas and send an enforcement officer out, because we'll take them to court. We've done it before, but we have to have information. So please would ask, we'll have that up on the screen, the website. Please call us, because we don't want to run into those construction sites like they found last year. That was just, there's a place where people to dump that at very little cost.
Any other comments? Aye.
Anybody wanting to volunteer?
Thank you, Marcia. Volunteers, if you call 731-1527, we will set you up with a site. We go to close to the news and the parks within the county. Have a zone captain to help direct you, and all you have to do is pick up and mark and keep track of it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Byers. And I would like to make one comment, please, before you leave. We did vote on it, didn't we?
No.
I didn't think. I was just, before you leave, I want to make a comment, and then we won't vote. But my comment during this, I guess, discussion part is I would like to thank you for doing what you do, and the volunteers for doing what they do, and the vision that was put together years ago by Ms. Caroline Parker, Mr. Borden Parker's wife. She came to my business back in '83 and said, can you help me help this county to stay and look cleaner? And we had put together a program, Ms. Parker, and we are seeing the fruits of her vision, the labor and all of what is going up into this very day, that when you come in Wayne County, the curb appeal is what and where people want to live and how they want to live. And I just commend you for carrying on what that seed was planted so many years ago by people like yourself with the passion to just look clean, to be clean, and be in a clean environment. Thank you.
And it doesn't take much time.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Proclamations before us. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, thank you. Thank you again. We have Mr. Smith on number
Yes.
4, 4-H Robotics Program presentation. I think we have a video too, Mr. Smith.
We do. We have got the Wayne County Extension Director, Kevin Johnson, and we also have Wayne County Extension Agent for Youth Development, Wallace Simmons, here today on the 4-H Robotics Program. They've got about a 7 or 8 minute video they're going to be showing you in a presentation, and they have a new home and all kinds of exciting things happening, so I'm sure they're going to fill you in on that.
We do. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity. There's a lot of exciting things going on in 4-H, and of course, big sweeps, we're very involved in that, but the 4-H Robotics is a great thing, and I'm going to pass this over to Wallace, because he's done a fantastic job with our 4-H program and continue the rich tradition that we've had here in the county. But we want to thank you for the great things that we have going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's my pleasure to be here. It's 4-H certainly has a lot of traditions and a lot of shining stars, and Big Sweep is one of those shining stars, and I applaud Barbara for her efforts through the 4-H program and partnering with Big Sweep in order to put that on. But another shining star is our robotics program, and I think it fits well into excuse me, it fits well into what 4-H mission is, to learn by doing. We're out there with our young people, teaching them STEM, science, with our science, technology, engineering, and math. The robotics program fits all of those categories, and I think that's one of the leading things that you see out in the United States as far as what people want our young people to learn. And I think the things that they're getting out of our robotics program is things that you can't learn anywhere else. They're having that hands-on learning experience that 4-H teaches, along with the community service. And they're part of a club. And one of the things I'd like to say, I very rarely have the opportunity to get out in a lot of places and have a big marketing campaign, so I can use this opportunity to tell you about 4-H a little bit. 4-H is a nonprofit organization that does use volunteers and actually brings in a lot of profit to our county through their volunteer effort. I think each year I bring before the commissioners a report that shows how much dollar value that the 4-H puts into the county, and I certainly appreciate that. But as far as the robotics program is concerned, it's teaching life skills to our young people that they're not getting anywhere else. And they're doing that on their own time, and they're doing that through volunteers, and I know that you'll see a lot more of that. I certainly appreciate what the county is doing for our program, as far as finding a place for them to actually practice. We're in the third year. We just finished that up. We're moving up every year as far as our ability and the things that we're achieving out there. This past year we were in one of the final selection groups, and it's a long process. About first is the host of the program, but out of the 56 teams we ended up 12th, but we actually ended up partnering and getting to choose because we placed so high in the competition at the state level. And we will be having in October another competition for the Robotics Club, and it is volunteer-led by a club leader, and I think that long-term learning and experiences they're having with young people through club leaders and through a caring volunteer is what makes a difference here in Wayne County and what's making a difference in our young people. So in saying that, we do have a video. I certainly appreciate everything, and I hope the video makes me look good, because
All right, here we are at Lane Tree Country Club today. We're here with Wallace Simmons of Wayne County Cooperative Extension Service. You are the 4-H guy, right?
That's correct.
All right. Well, Wallace, why are we here at the Country Club today?
Well, the county commissioners asked us to come out and give a demonstration of our robotic program and what's going on. And we have with us the robot we're going to demonstrate that our young people built, and it works really good. It was in a competition last year. We placed, I think, 13th out of 50-something total youth, and we're ready to demonstrate how the techniques that we use to build this, the engineering, the science, the STEM, the math, and all of those things we put into action to get this thing ready for competition. My name is Wallace Simmons. For those I haven't had a chance to meet, I'm the 4-H agent in the county. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to demonstrate the Roto Raptors. That's a 4-H club in the county that built this robot from scratch in 6 weeks. This year's challenge, and they give you a challenge that you have to meet, is to throw frisbees into a goal. If you throw that frisbee into the goal, you score so many points. And at the end, they had to climb on a like a scaffolding and lift itself up off the ground. That's what these hooks are for. So with these hooks right here, we have to pull under the scaffolding, lift itself up off the ground, and you got extra points for that. So it's a challenge. It's part of the first robotics club nationwide. This year we placed 13th out of 56 teams in the state. We did really, really well. We were working on this. I think this is our third year doing it, so every year we've gotten better.
We're here with County Commissioner Bill Pate. Bill, we're in one of the rooms here at Lane Tree Golf Club, and we're about to see a demonstration for commissioners, for county commissioners, of the 4-H robot. Now, the robotics program is pretty important to the 4-H, and they have won some state awards, come very close to and high every time they've been participating in this. What does this mean to Wayne County? How is Wayne County going to use robotics in the future? How does it pertain to agriculture?
I was fortunate enough to get to see these guys do this demonstration in Greensboro, and I was very impressed with the work that they've done. We also saw something in Greensboro. There was a presentation given by a gentleman who was a former professional basketball player who was taking inner city kids and getting them involved in agriculture and letting them learn a lot of different skills and getting them moving in the right direction. This is not exactly the same kind of thing, but this is involving our young people in robotics, and do not think that we will not be seeing robotics in the future in agriculture, because we know that
we see it in so many other things already, in manufacturing of automobiles and manufacturing of other goods as well. We're bound to see it in agriculture. In fact, I would venture to say we already see it in agriculture in use in tractors and farm equipment and implements.
They already do. When you and I were growing up, we were still down there on hand and foot, cropping tobacco. Nobody does that anymore today. Machines do it. And then when they take it out, they drop it off with a conveyor belt onto a trailer. They take it up there to the bulk barns. It goes up a conveyor belt, drops it in the box, pick it up a forklift, and run it right in. It's a completely different operation. And in the coming years, can you imagine how much more it's going to change? And these are the kids that are going to make it happen.
Boss, I like to say that not even 3 months ago, you guys came before us at the Commissioners and had a vision, and you used your principles of leadership and team building, and all of a sudden you're given 6 weeks to put something like that together. So 3 months ago, we were just listening to an idea and your vision, and today, voila, you've put something together, and I commend you for that. I know Commissioner Mayo's in the manufacturing business. He's probably excited about what he's seeing there, right?
Oh, yes. I see a lot of precision parts there that have to be made just right. I was just telling John, the guys that guys your Frisbee, they have to be just so in order for that Frisbee to go to the same place each time. So, job well done. All of you did a great job. How many of you guys are ready for employment? Great job.
And you've been giving NC Manufacturing when we get to the next project, right?
That's correct. I want to help on the next project, okay?
John?
Okay.
Johnny,
Does it have a name?
Is your name it?
But we have 2 commissioners missing, so one of them is named Wayne and the other named Ed. So we can, you'll name him Wayne Ed. Well, that's a job well done.
That might be our replacement one day.
I know.
Joe, got anything, Joe?
Yeah, I agree with it. It's just a remarkable feat that you've been able to put this together. It's a lot of team effort. It does show that, because I see some sponsors that are labels that are on there, so evidently you all got community support. I think all around, great job, just a great job.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all's support. We got
Bill?
I was going to say, we talked a few minutes earlier with Wayne Alley about the future of agriculture and the mechanization and the robotics that are going to be required to farm in the future. And this is just another prime example to let me know these are the engineering minds of the future, and I feel safe. Thanks, guys. Great
Yeah, I
job.
can see this going around picking cucumbers and throwing them right down.
Thanks, guys. Let's give them a hand. Thank you so much.
And I certainly appreciate the opportunity to share that video and the information that you saw there. 4-H is the youth component of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service. As most of you know, it falls under the Department of North Carolina Department of Agriculture. Having that, we've been around in the nation over 100 years, and in North Carolina since 1908. Since 1908, so we've been around for a long time to show what 4-H can do, and I think we have a bright future ahead of us, especially with the young minds that you're seeing putting stuff together like that. I think it fits well with our goals and mission as far as bringing young people together and teaching young minds, and they're doing a lot more than just building that robot. It blends in with our need for space that we're getting to have them build that, but it also blends into our agriculture history and our future of agriculture as well. So I appreciate your time. I welcome comments and questions. I thank you for allowing me to be here, and it's my pleasure. Yes,
Any
sir.
comments from commissioners? Mr. Camardi?
Which schools in the county have you taken that into so far?
They're traveling around to several different schools. It's been around through the community college.
I don't mean the presentation. Which schools have you introduced that as a program into? That's what I was trying to get.
Okay. Wayne County 4-H is open to every school. It's available. We send out flyers and information for the program for everybody to take advantage of the opportunity of 4-H, and we welcome those. We've had primarily a homeschool group that's doing a lot of it through our homeschool, and also the School of Engineering has taken advantage of that. We also had some youth from Charles B. Aycock as well, been involved in the robotics program. It's whoever chooses to be a part of that, such as all of our programs are open to whoever chooses to be a program and off that.
So far, it's just been the School of Engineering and CBA Cop?
Well, we have Wayne Early Day as well. We have some from the private schools, and I'm not sure of all who's chosen to take advantage of that right now, because it is a club-run program. We have over 30 clubs out in the county. This is one of our clubs, and so I'm not sure where they all come from, but it is open to everybody.
Any others?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor?
I'd like to commend you on the job that you're doing in the 4-H, and you know, this is a vital training program for our future leaders of not only our county but our state and nation. Has dramatic effect on future economic development in Wayne County and across the state and nation. I'm really sold on this program, and I just want to commend you and your staff and for what you do and what I've seen that's accomplished. I still think it's a close tolerance, and I'll say it again, how you can automatic feed these frisbees within a couple of inches of someone that's catching it. You've got to have your alignments together. By the way, I want to ask you a question. Are these frisbees actually spinning when they come out?
They are spinning when they're coming out.
Okay.
It has two different wheels that are set on time that get them to spin.
I did not see that part because I was watching and catching them because I couldn't believe, it would come straight at them. So that's from the engineering and manufacturing standpoint, that's a tremendous feat. And I applaud you and everyone that works with you and what you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any others?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pate?
since it was difficult to hear me on that, because I am rather soft-spoken at times, but the importance of that to agriculture is just paramount. It really is. The days of just hard labor, and it's still hard to work on the farm. I'm not, saying it's not, but it's so mechanized now, and you use a GIS to lay out your fields. You've got so many machines that do so much of the work that was done by hand in the past. Of course, you're using a lot less people out there too, but you're producing more product for the market. And we all know how big agriculture is in this county. It's the largest engine in the county. It was what, 700 million?
760 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And who knows how many times that turns over. But that's an economic engine we can't just dismiss. We've got to keep moving forward, and we've got to support it. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I did want to mention, and I'm glad Mr. Cromartie brought that up. I'm glad that this is being advertised. It's been in the newspaper, but this program's open for anyone. Anyone that's interested. This is a great, and a lot of times 4-H everybody thinks, well, 4-H is agriculture, it's livestock shows. Not, 4-H is very diverse in Wayne County. There are 4-H clubs that have nothing to do with agriculture. There's clubs, I know there's some clubs out there that just work on leadership skills. We have a shooting sports club. So it's very diverse, and it's open to everybody. So if there's any youth out there that want to participate, we're excited.
And also there are volunteers because a lot of the problem is on after school where kids don't have transportation. And I will tell you, if you saw some of the folks, and this is just one club, a lot of those young men, young ladies, and parents who participate will pick these kids up. They do. I mean, they turn into mom and dad. So if there's a child out there who wants to make application to participate, if they'll do that, they're volunteers who will pick them up.
Well, any other commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cromartie.
Thank you for putting a little bit more light on that. The reason when I'm asked that question, I know that you have a lot of programs in the afternoon, and I didn't elaborate on it, but the essence of that program being introduced as young as early as you can. And I know you have those programs. I mean, I know what you do at Carvin, Brogdon, and all that, but to introduce that to a younger age level and to students who would not normally in their everyday life see that level of technology. That was my reason for asking you that specific question, or that question. I didn't get very specific with it, but, and I'm glad you brought it back up a little bit to discuss it a little bit. Any far reaches parts of the county, please make every, and I know, I understood the part about everybody who want to get into it can, but you know, sometimes that whole business of the volunteering and getting there and is the chicken or the egg thing. You know, sometimes it just doesn't get started because you worry about is the chicken or the egg we want to have first. So thank you for what you do, but my mind was just flirting on those kids that I know that you work with in the afternoon, and I know from some of the areas they come, and just not to miss that, what you all are talking about today, because I agree with you, Mr. Mayo, if they understand the concept of how that works, then they understand the concept of how it is to make a living in that world where it's highly technical, and they may be missing the boat. But they also, if given that in an early enough age, it gives them something else.
Any other
Exactly,
comments from commissioners?
And I would like to say that we are working on what's called a Lego League, which is a precursor to the robotics, which takes it back to a younger grade. And we also do a lot of STEM research and activities in our after-school programs. We do that in some of our other clubs that are much younger, also in our prevention and our 21st century programs too. We do a lot of the STEM type research, and hopefully we can build those young minds and prepare them to participate in a club that's really a technical type club, and as they go through there. So we're building that whole process and as we go along.
And not to belabor this, one second, not to belabor this, but
Yes, sir, Mr. Cromartie.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I know that the school system is, in the middle schools, I know that with my past history of OCAD, I know the director now and all that, but they are putting in STEM labs, and I just couldn't help but wonder if the 4-H and the school system will somehow or another sort of keep track of each other, because I see some of this being prepared to go in place at some of the middle schools. Mount Olive Middlefield has a brand new lab down there, and some of the things that you're talking about, I've seen a little bit of it. But I would just be interested to know if there was some, I would not want it to be operating in isolation. You know, 4-H over here doing something, and the school system over there doing something. That's all I would just want you to pay attention to that for the global sake. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I can add something to that, Mr. Cromartie. Several months ago, these gentlemen came to me and this commission and had a vision, as we spoke of on the video. And they certainly had our blessings, and they went out and secured several support groups, NASA, Butterball, local groups. I can't name them all, but several. And with that, they took their idea into a kitchen. They had no place to go. They went into a kitchen with a closet and actually put something together in the time that they were required to as their project. Maybe 6 weeks. Is that
6 weeks?
6 weeks. And they did that, and of course they went to the association as Commissioner Pate up in Guilford County. We saw them there demonstrating their robot. And at that time, they had secured temporarily a place other than a kitchen and a closet in someone's house. They had secured someplace, and I came back and expressed the importance of having this club, because it's an extension of the cooperative extension, to have someplace that the county could provide. And Mr. Smith has gotten with Commissioner Mayo, Facilities Chair, and has arranged that they have a place here for a period of time that they're working on in order to have them to have a place that they can have everybody. The Board of Education, of course, has secured the STEM program, and we're helping fund that from a county standpoint. I do believe, I'm not sure how much the county funds that, but those STEM programs are operated by the Board of Education This being a cooperative extension, a 4-H club, being under the auspice of what it is, I think the county manager and the facilities director has seen that we embrace this group. In fact, it's even an idea of incorporating it in the regional ag center that Commissioner Pate has been working on so diligently in the last 2 to 3 months, having the cooperative extension agent housed in that area and having the 4-H and expand the 30-some groups or clubs that you have that we can work through that. So, Mr. Cromartie, that absolutely has been already being taken in consideration. I just really appreciate you bringing that up. Any other comments from the commissioners? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll be going into closed session scheduled at 11, but we have quite a bit to do before that. I think that if the closed session participants, if we could push that, well, let's take a 5-minute break, please, and then we'll come back. We'll take a 5-minute break, recess. Ready? Thank you for coming back and joining us after the recess. It's 11 o'clock. We were scheduled to go into closed session at 11. We're going to put that off until 11:30. We'll try to get this business done. We've got several items to go and getting this done before 11:30 so we can go into closed session. And of course, when we go into closed session at 11:30, any items that we don't cover, we'll cover when we come out of closed session. We anticipate the closed session to be probably 30 to 45 minutes.
Yes.
So what we don't finish, we'll come back and finish it. Time Warner Cable update on digital changes, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. We have Eric Collins with Time Warner Cable, and we talk a lot on the phone, haven't seen each other in a while, but we appreciate Eric coming today to talk about some analog to digital changes, and since I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll let Eric explain it.
Oh, sure you do. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman, fellow members, commissioners, it's good to be with you this morning. Mr. Smith and I and his staff have been talking for the last few weeks about some upcoming changes with Time Warner Cable that we're going to be doing, and it's nothing new. It's something that we've been doing since 2010 as far as converting channels to a digital format from an old antiquated analog technology that's currently available to subscribers now. In 2007, I want to start out by, in 2007, making you aware, and you may remember, when the FCC required that all television manufacturers manufacture televisions with digital QAM tuners, because they knew there was coming a day that the FCC would be asking and reclaiming an analog bandwidth for the use for emergency services, especially Wi-Fi and other technologies that the FCC would use for that bandwidth spectrum. In fact, in 2009, if you remember, in the city of Wilmington, they were the very first city that all local broadcasters went to a digital format. And just to explain the digital format, if you're not aware, in the old antiquated analog scenario, an analog channel was specifically one channel, say channel 7. Say if it was a broadcaster. When they went to a digital format, the federal FCC actually gave potentially five channels for one analog channel. So that's why if you have a digital television, when you pull up one of your local broadcasts, you'll see channels 7.1, .2, .3, .4. Digital technology it is the wave of the future. Analog, again, is an old, antiquated technology. But getting back to the conversations between myself and Mr. Smith, it was regarding a letter dated August the 7th. It's regarding some upcoming changes to 4 channels, additional channels here in Wayne County. And the 4 channels that will be affected would WRAY, WRPX, Channel 10, the Government Access Channel, and the Educational Access Channel. It's operated by Wayne County Schools. This is the reason Time Warner is doing this is because we're trying to better utilize the limited bandwidth that we have available. Analog takes a good portion of the spectrum that we have with our bandwidth that we build our system. And as we operate our business, we continue to add digital channels. Not only we add digital channels, but we also have, of course, digital phone, as well as, I would have to say, one of our more requested services is broadband services. And we're seeing, and our customers are asking us for higher and higher speeds of broadband services, as well as high-definition channels. Again, this is part of a continuing process that goes back to 2010, when we reclaimed channels like Oxygen, Shop NBC, C-SPAN 2, SoapNet, and it also included Speed, CMT, VH1, Classics, the Golf Channel, which was more recently. Now, this channel going from analog to digital, it's going to be transparent to the vast majority of our subscribers in Wayne County. What will happen is on October 8th, we will digitize your government access channel as well as the other channels that I mentioned. We will digitize that channel, and for all customers, which is the vast majority of our customers that have a digital set-top box and the digital adapters, they will continue to see your government access channel on channel 10. So our viewers that have a digital adapter and a set-top box, they won't even realize that there's a change happened. There is a very small percentage of those consumers that have the old, antiquated, analog TV sets. And what we're seeing is there are very few of them that's out there. And what those customers will see is a letter that we issued and we sent out about 30 days before. And the letter was advising them of this particular change. And that change was that the channel will be going to a digital format. And the wording is this, is that for those few, they will not be able to view on the analog sets your government access channel and the other channels, broadcast channels that I mentioned, because their television is analog. What we're requesting them to do is to contact Time Warner, and we provided them with a contact number as well as a website if they have internet services. We also were working with, with Mr. Smith and his staff and on the government access channel. They are promoting and sharing the change as well, informing them they contact us to get a digital adapter, which is really about the size of my hand. And what a digital adapter does is convert an analog television signal to a digital signal. And by receiving the digital adapter, they will be able to receive all those channels, the channels that we just discussed, in a digital format through the digital adapter. We also inform the customers that the digital adapter, if they call within a certain time period, the digital adapter is going to be free until January 1st, 2015. After that, and each customer, you may have received these letters as well, after that, the digital adapter itself will be 99 cents per month. We don't expect that there's going to be, from what I'm seeing, there's not going to be a huge impact on the vast majority of our customers that's here in Wayne County. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have regarding this.
Mr. Bell.
I have a question, not pertaining to the digital, but been in this county a long time, and I was wondering why Channel 9 was my favorite channel. And now we don't get it. Why?
Is it a CBS?
Channel 9 out of Greenville.
Oh, Greenville? Okay. The reason I asked that because I have so many channel lineups. I have from South Carolina to Virginia. So there's a lot of channel lineups between here and there. A lot of times it was probably a duplicate channel There was probably another CBS, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, there were two,
Five.
okay, right. So because there were two CBSs, one CBS was what we call in-market. Your DMA, the federal government sets a DMA area for broadcasters that it's called must carry. In other words, if you're in that, if you're within that DMA and that arrow that the FCC, the federal government draws out, we have to carry your channel regardless. We don't have a choice. But since Greenville is out of market, because it's in Greenville, you're in the Raleigh DMA, that's the Greenville, Virginia DMA. So therefore, because it was a duplicate, we went to one CBS.
Okay. I have another question
Okay.
too, Mr. Chairman. Seven Springs, North Carolina, little town about, how many miles, Mr. Smith?
Those are crow flies, just, what is it, 10, 11 miles?
Okay.
It's in the southeast corner of Wayne County.
They doesn't have any
It doesn't
cable
have
at all,
no service?
no service at all.
And the name is?
Seven Springs.
Seven Springs?
So when you look at Seven Springs and the Indian Springs
And
area. That's an area that you guys have looked at and done some surveys in the past, but they have not come back positively, but there have been some changes. There have been some additions of some homes in the area, so.
Absolutely. And typically in the past is when construction comes in, engineers, they take a look. Because of the high expense that it costs to build it, they look for homes per mile. So that over a term period, there will be a return of investment, excuse me.
Well, it comes right up to the bridge and stops.
Okay.
And there, Seven Springs right on the other side of the bridge.
Okay. We will definitely take a look at it, and
Okay.
I will get a response to Mr. Smith.
Mr. Payton and Mr. Mayo.
That's the question that I was going to ask. Cable runs right to the other side of the bridge, and town is right on the river.
Yes, sir.
And it's so important for economic development. It's one of the things that attracts business. You got to have broadband. That's just one of the things you got to have. You got approximately, 197 people, I think they said, live in the town.
Okay.
And they really want it, and they're really asking for it. And if it's all possible, I think you need to take another look at it, because it really helped that part of the county grow, and it should bring additional business to you in the future as it does grow.
Right. Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayo and Mr. Daugherty.
Thank you for coming. Sometimes when you look at the number of homes, say per mile or whatever, before you run the cable, there are some exceptions. There are some exceptions that maybe because of economic development, in order for a community to grow, maybe we need to look at the future rather than what's here now. Because in this particular case, and I'm sure there's other areas, that without the cable, the economic development and businesses just are not going to go there. So sometimes we may have to invest something up front in order to gain something in the future. The second thing I wanted to mention is that the digital adapters, are you saying that's going to be a small part of the providers, the customers in Wayne County, or is that going to be a big percentage?
No, that's a very, very small percentage that's going to require a digital adapter.
Well, everybody I know is, if you've got a TV that's 4 or 5 years old, you've got to have a digital adapter.
If your television is a flat screen or has a quad tuner in it, then you will not be required to have a digital adapter.
Or if you have the box.
Or if you have if you already have a set-top box.
Yeah, if you have a box. But I have a box, and I'm just going to use myself as an example. But I've got 2 digital adapters, and they are nothing but trouble, and I'll tell you why. I'm losing signal off of both of my digital adapters, and my neighbors are too that have it. I'm losing signal 2, 3 times a week, and having to reset this box. And even some of your Time Warner cable technicians are saying that this is really has some issues with it. So it's really unnerving, because when you have to reset the box, and it starts picking up channels again, it takes 15 minutes for it to pick up all the channels.
Scan.
So you're in the middle of a football game, hey, I'm not happy, okay?
Yeah, yes, you're right.
But that's just a comment.
Okay.
Mr. Dotter.
I will also,
Mr. Dotter.
I think Commissioner Mayo expressed that very well, but I plead with you to really look diligently of finding some way to bring service there in Seven Springs. Seven Springs in that community has got a lot of history. It's right on the river and was devastated by the flood, and they are trying to rebuild. But yet they are locked into a situation of seeing the opportunity of their future right across the bridge at the where it terminates with Time Warner, when all it has to do is be brought right across the bridge. And even though economically, even though those people that are pushing the pencil may not be able to see economically it would be viable in the short term, it is a desperate need of that community of having internet service. They've had people that actually have gone in to look at developing, but because of no broadband service, would not build or come to Seven Springs. So I just really urge you to take this project on, and let's get some internet down here to Seven Springs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty. Mr. Camardi.
I want to ask a question, it's sort of related to Mr. Daugherty, but I want to try to get, I just want to see if I'm matching something in my head. What is the number of persons per mile that you have to have? The number of families, the number of households?
it's typically around anywhere from about 26 homes per mile.
26 homes per mile.
26, now that was, I'm using a number, it's really hard to say. It could be from 26 to 30 something.
Now this is
like
not
the
a
bridge. The reason I asked that
this is not a trap.
I know.
That's one.
I don't.
It's
I know.
right across the bridge. And how many people is it in? How many people is it in?
110.
110. And maybe we're talking about 100 yards. If you took that 110 people and counted that mile, sound like to me you would get the average that you needed. And I'm losing something in the transfer. I'm just looking at a way that you satisfy what you're saying, and the fact that you take this number of people that's sitting right there within 100 or couple hundred yards, and you're talking about a mile, so you might have that number of people, but you gotta,
Right.
I just want you to look at that as a consideration. 'Cause I hear that I'm looking at the actual way of taking that that calculator and fix it. If we're talking about X number of people, certain distance, we got the number of people sitting at the end of that mile or somewhere in that mile. It's just not strung down the road.
Right. And I'm not familiar with it. I don't know the circumstances, and I don't know. We're talking about 100 yards across a river. I don't know what circumstances it's going to take to get across that. But we would definitely look at it. I can assure you that.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
I can assure you.
Commissioners, is that going to conclude your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Are there any comments or questions in reference to anything else on cable? Time Warner?
Seven Springs.
I've written down 3 times.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Collins.
you.
Thank you. Because of time, we have employees that are going to do some of these other items, but we have people who have come from out of town, and we have visitors also. So I'm going to skip over at this time the volunteer fire department contracts. I'm going to skip over the proclamation for the Constitution Week. I'm going to also skip over number 8. Wait a minute, is East Point?
She's here.
She's here, okay,
Miscellaneous.
no, I will not skip that one. Okay, we'll take 8.
Okay.
And then the resolution expressing gratitude and appreciation for the United States Armed Forces. That's, we have Mr. Will, Rob Will here. He's come out of New Bern, so we'll have that one. So let's go ahead and then we have the school. We have the superintendent, Dr. Taylor here, We need to get him back to work, so we're trying to get everyone who's come, other than an employee of the county. We could, not that they're not important too, but we're trying to get all these done real quick before we go into closed session. So let's do the drug and alcohol, drug addiction recovery from East Point, please. Ms. Lane.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Thank you for this opportunity.
That's on page 13 and 14.
Okay.
Okay.
Whereas treatment and recovery improve the community's welfare and provide a renewed outlook on life for those who struggle with substance abuse disorders and their family and friends. Whereas recent studies show that 23.2 million people aged 12 or older in the United States needed treatment for substance abuse disorder, and 5.4 million adults also suffered from a concurrent mental illness. And studies have indicated that 8.9% of people who made an effort to get treatment but did not receive it were concerned that receiving that treatment might cause neighbors or community members to have negative opinions of them. However, most say that they would not have a negative opinion of a relative or friend in recovery from an addiction. And whereas resources exist online and in our community to increase people's awareness about how substance abuse disorders affect children, families, and our society, and whereas education is essential to overcoming misconceptions and achieving long-term recovery, and whereas to help achieve this goal, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, and the Wayne County Board of Commissioners invite all residents of Wayne County to participate in the recognition of National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month. Now therefore be it resolved that Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of September 2013 as Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month in Wayne County, and calls upon all citizens to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies supporting this year's theme, Join the Voices for Recovery. Together we learn, together we heal. This 17th day of September, 2013.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Daugherty.
I move adoption of the resolution.
Motion's on the floor that we adopt the resolution. Any discussion? I do have one. I want to thank you so much for all you're doing and what East Point is doing. East Point is going through a huge transformation, I would call it.
Sir.
And as you know, we are doing all we can. Mr. Bell has been on that board for some time, and I now serve on the board. And for Ken Jones and the staff of East Point, we both, I'm sure, and all of the committees, all of the commissioners here and sitting on the committees are very appreciative of what you're still having to do with the provider network, with coordinating everything, and now doing this and taking this on. It's just monumental.
Well, thank you for
Is there anything that you'd like to say about East Point before we vote on this? I'm sure.
We are moving forward. Our organization is growing and growing, and with our 12 counties now, in my particular department, the Community Relations Department, we have a Community Relations Specialist that represents each of the 12 counties, and that's one thing that enables us to do proclamations such as this and to be involved with community activities revolving around like Recovery Month and other avenues. Thank you very much for allowing us to be here today.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, commissioners? All those in favor of the resolution, raise your hand. All those opposed? Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Lane, for taking your time out this morning coming. Mr. Smith, introduce, is it Rob Wheel?
Yes,
East Carolina Council.
we have Rob Wheel. This is on the resolution expressing gratitude and appreciation to the United States Armed Forces.
Excuse me. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present this important resolution to you this morning. I'm just going to go ahead and read the resolution. And whereas in Eastern North Carolina is the home of 6 major Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security installations: Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, Coast Guard Station Elizabeth City, Fort Bragg, Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, Marine Corps Air Station New River, and Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune, as well as the North Carolina National Guard and other DoD, DHS activities and organizations. And whereas the United States military is the second largest sector in the state of North Carolina's economy, accounting for 8% of the North Carolina's gross state product, worth $23.4 billion, and more than 416,000 individuals are either directly employed by the military or working jobs providing goods or services that support the military's presence in North Carolina. And whereas the defense procurement contracts in North Carolina exceeded $4.1 billion in 2011, and businesses with defense-related contracts operated in 87 of North Carolina's 100 counties. And whereas the continued long-term military presence in North Carolina is directly dependent on the Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security's ability to operate not only its installations, but also its training and other readiness functions critical to national defense. And whereas it is therefore of paramount importance to the future of North Carolina to maintain the best possible relationship with all branches of the United States military and to promote practices to maintain North Carolina's preeminent position as the best location for military bases and training installations. And whereas North Carolina has a vested economic interest in the preservation and enhancement of land uses that are compatible with military activities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners expresses its profound gratitude and support to the United States Armed Forces for its continued presence in Eastern North Carolina and the positive impacts on our communities.
Sure.
Mr. Mayo.
Make a motion that we accept this resolution this morning.
Motion's on the floor to accept the resolution. Any discussion? I do have a comment during discussion period, is that Mr. Rob Will is representing the RPO. The RPO, along with Mr. Patrick Flanagan, is under Mr. Cromartie's watch now as far as the East Carolina Council of Governments. They are there and housed under the East Carolina Council of Governments, and they're doing a super job. This particular resolution came before me 2 weeks ago, and I asked for it to be looked over by council, and it came to me from Lenoir County. And from Lenoir County, it has gone out to the other counties in the COG, the Council of Governments, and I think it went before Goldsboro City last night. I think it was on their agenda. I think.
I am not sure, but we will be considering the same resolution. Our next RPO meeting is this Thursday, and we will be considering it then. So, as a regional organization, that's what we will be doing.
Okay. Any comments or questions on this?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayo?
I think I learned more from you reading the resolution, because 4.1 billion in 2011.
These are some staggering numbers.
That's some staggering numbers. 416,000 individuals. Wow. Thank you for what you do, and it's sort of you know, I was just reported on being at in Virginia this weekend with MAC committee, doing the same thing that we're doing right here on this on this resolution, telling our military people how much we appreciate them and supporting them in their endeavors and how important they are to our economy in North Carolina. So I appreciate you bringing this before us this morning. Appreciate what you do.
Any other words, comments? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Rob, thank you again for all you do. Be careful going back to Newbern.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have one other item that I wish to bring on the list here before we go into closed session, is that we have a statute that requires us to do certain things or several statutes that do require us to do certain things all through the year. And we have a statute on the education process in our county. So Mr. Parker, if you would go over that statute, and then Mr. Smith, if you'd introduce our special guest.
The North Carolina General Statutes require the County Board of Commissioners to approve the purchase price of any land bought by the Board of Education. The Board of Education is asking you to approve a price that Dr. Taylor will go into. In addition, the statutes require you to approve they are using lottery funds, and the Board of Education is asking you to approve the use of lottery funds to purchase this property if you approve the sales price.
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Yes, sir. I'd like to introduce Dr. Steve Taylor, Superintendent of Wayne County Schools, and give the presentation and hopefully move along the project.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Members of the board and Mr. Smith, thank you for working this in. We can't stay on schedule either, so I know how that works. As you know, we are working together to move forward our facility plan. And as part of that plan, we have 4 new schools on that plan. So we're going to buy 4 pieces of property. We have secured a piece in Grantham, and now we are looking to secure a piece for our Spring Creek Middle School. And of course, we'll be coming back to you later on once we are able to find the 2 additional pieces of property for our 2 schools in the northern end of the county. The Board of Education entered into an option with Ms. Stansel, Edna Garris Stansel, on April 25th for the piece of property that she owns, which is located on the east side of North Carolina 111 Highway and west of Park Road in Indian Springs Township. It's a 35.449 acre parcel, and Ms. Stansel has been really good to work with in trying to purchase that piece of property. The total purchase price that we're asking you to approve this morning is $212,500 for that piece of property. It was appraised by the L. Wilford Company, and looking at the comparables in that area, the prices really range per acre from $37.46 to $50 to actually $65.25. But in looking at this piece of property, it was actually appraised at $59.94, which is what the Board of Education negotiated with Ms. Stansel to buy that piece of property for. And of course, we have already, because we have security option for the first 6 months option, and actually there were 2 additional 6-month options in that contract. And fortunately, we've been able to proceed during the first 6 months. But we've already paid her $2,500 out of our capital outlay funds. So we would like to have your approval for the additional $210,000 out of our lottery dollars. And of course, we have a fund balance to accommodate that. We did do our due diligence, and I'll use one of Mr. Smith's terms. We did do our due diligence on that piece of property. And the first thing we did, contacted Mr. Connie Price with Wayne County Planning to see if that land could be used for a school. And that is a permitted use, a school for that piece of property. We also checked on the water, sewer, and electrical. We checked with Mr. Tender Lewis with the water and sewer. And I'm not an expert in this, but I understand that on the water side, there's about a 12-inch water line that runs along Highway 111, which would accommodate the size of that school. There's also a sewer line, I think it's 6 to 8 inches, that could be used, that could handle the capacity of the sewer for that school. As I understand it, the sewer line would probably be connected to the one at Spring Creek High. We have a pumping station there, and then I guess it goes up the line to Dudley. Is that right, Mr. Smith? And then, of course, we checked with the electrical with Tri-County, and they assured us that I think that's what they call a 3-phase, and they could upgrade to accommodate our needs for that. And the additional step we took, we went to DPI school planning, and we talked to Mr. Ken Phelps, who is a school planning consultant, and we actually went to Bobby Rex Carnegie's firm, and he took a design and sort of a prototype and placed on that property, and they looked at that and they said they didn't see any issues whatsoever. In fact, they said we could probably turn that school in a couple of directions if we needed to. So having said that, we're here, the Board of Education would like to ask for you to first of all approve the purchase price, $212,500, and then if you would also approve for us to use our lottery dollars to purchase that, and the application would be for $210,000. Mr. So if any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
I'd like to ask the commission to address any questions or comments before motion is on the floor. Is there any questions or comments for Dr. Taylor?
I have a comment.
Mr. Pate.
I just want to thank you personally for coming over and taking your time out to come over here and talk to us about this. I've seen this property. I think that the price is appropriate, and I'm glad to see us getting ready to move forward in the Spring Creek area, which the need is there.
We're excited, and I think that's a good piece of property for that school.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Daughtery.
I too commend you for the selection of the piece of property because of its location. It's nearby our high school. It is located with a side road off of the main highway that I believe is shared with a very famous park.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that correct?
Adjacent to, yes, sir.
So it is, the Cliffs of the News
There you
Park
go.
is located right
Absolutely.
there. But that said, I look forward to us moving forward with this, and just commend you for coming, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr.
Mr. Acock.
I also want to thank Dr. Taylor for coming today, and I'm going to be brief. Our number one priority is educating our children and grandchildren, and I think this was a great step in the right direction, and I appreciate the hard work that y'all have put into it, and really looking forward to moving forward. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
I have a question on logistics of the lottery funds. The question, I guess, would the balance of the lottery fund once this is taken out, do you know how much that would
I think
be?
it's a little over $6 million, is that right? A little over $6 million we have left in fund balance.
And the easements, I'm glad that you secured the, I guess, due diligence to make sure there are no regulations is free of all easements to property.
As far as we know, we have no
Power
knowledge.
lines and ditches, environmental
Should
issues.
should not be, that's why we check with electrical power and all that.
And you said that the availability of sewer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the sewer cost would come out of the project as it moves forward
I'm assuming that it would be. Is that how we
from the
do it?
Board of Education?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So you would not go on septic on that property?
No, sir, no, sir. Not with the sewer line where it's located. We can
Okay.
connect right to it. We're told we can connect right to it, send it to the pumping station at the high school and send it on up the lines.
Good. That's all my questions. Mr. Bell?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bell, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Bell that we approve the purchase of $212,500 to be taken from the lottery funds to purchase the property as described. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you so
Mr.
much. And can I make one other comment?
Yes, sir.
Sort of a side note. I want to thank Mr. Acock for representing you and coming to the visitation when my father passed away. I thought that was very thoughtful, and so thank you so much for that.
Yes, sir,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Taylor.
Mr. Chairman.
The other item, there was the purchase of the property. Are we okay? Is that, going to finish that up? Was there any other?
That was on the
Yes.
motion.
Right.
It was covered.
Is that all we need to
Yes.
do here on this? Mr. Daughtery?
Am I understanding that we also need to have a motion in regards to allowing them to use lottery funds?
It's my understanding that Mr. Bell's motion
Included both.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's what I heard.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
Okay, do we have a motion that we go in closed session? Thank you, Mr. Mayo. Motion that we go in closed session. All those in favor, raise your hand.
For the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in Wayne County.
Back into a regular session. And 6 on our agenda is the volunteer fire department contracts. Mr. Smith?
Sir, asked Fire Marshal Brian Taylor if he'd come forward. We did add 3 additional Antioch, Elroy, and North Wayne or Fremont to this list. So ask Brian to bring you up to date on this.
Good afternoon, Mr. Taylor.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
We're doing well.
Good. Before you today, included in your packets are a list of 13 volunteer fire department contracts for approval. Those fire departments include Antioch, Belfast, Elroy, Indian Springs, Little River, Marmac, New Hope, Oakland, Patetown, Sawston, Mosley Hall, which is the town of LaGrange because we have a small area that we contract with them. Wayland Fire District, which is the area in the county that we contract with the town of Mount Olive, and also Northern Wayne, which is a area for in the northern end that the town of Fremont covers for us. And we just ask for your approval for those contracts. And these contracts are based on the budgets that were presented during the budget process, and no monies will be given to the fire departments until the contracts, number one, are approved and the review from Nunn and Brashear is done and completed and back to the county.
How many do you have left after these would be approved?
After these here, we'll have 14.
And the deadline date, again, is what we're asking for, is October what?
Well, the contracts have to be approved and signed by October 31st. That's when they
okay.
They go through this year. Every year we do it through October 31st to give us time to get through this process.
All right, Mr. Aycock.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept these contracts, and I'd like to make a comment also.
Okay, the motion is on the floor to accept these contracts. Any discussion? Mr. Aycock.
Yes. Brian can help me clarify this. We've already approved part of the contracts. This is another section, another group that has been brought in, and like you said, we like about 14. In the process over the years, the reason they all don't come in back at one time, your different departments, it depends on when their monthly meetings are and their board of directors or the board and the tax board to getting the signatures on it. It's normally we get them all back in on time, but it's not one of them things that, it depends on when their monthly meetings cycle around that determines how quick they get them back in sometime.
That's correct.
Any other discussions? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All those opposed? Thank you. That was unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming today. Appreciate it. Okay. Next item. Let's do the establish a public hearing on the Methane Power Wayne. Is someone here from? No. You want to go ahead and get that report then?
You want to go ahead and read 17, the Constitution week? Number 7?
Number 7.
Ms. Parks was here, but she had to leave, so, and I think Mr. Mayo had volunteered to read that proclamation.
Number 7?
Yes, sir.
I've got so many marked up here.
I know.
Moving around, I apologize.
I almost missed it myself.
Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention.
That's all right.
The Constitution Week for Wayne County, the proclamation. Mr. Mayo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas September 17, 2013 marks the 226th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designated September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim September the 17th through the 23rd, 2013 to be Constitution Week in Wayne County, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideas of the framers of the Constitution as well as the ideals contained in the amendments subsequently adopted. This the 17th day of September 2013. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt this resolution.
Motion's on the floor. We adopt the resolution as read. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Mayo, for reading that. Number 11, establish a public hearing on Methane Power Wayne LLC to extend the lease at the landfill.
Yes, sir. Tim Rogers is here, but he had to get back. He had another meeting. This is in reference to Methane Power Wayne. You know, we had a couple years ago a groundbreaking. These are our generators. Methane Power actually puts in the wells, the spider wells, to get out the required methane out of our landfill. And what they're asking is to request an extension on the lease with the County of Wayne. This is basically going to remove the methane gas. It was an originally 20-year. They're going just to add 5 years to that. They are refinancing some projects in North America. And anyway, we are asking right now, recommending to establish a public hearing on Tuesday, October 1st, 2013, 9:15 a.m. here in this room to consider the extension of that lease.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Daugherty.
I move that we establish a public hearing on the methane power lease on October the 1st at what time?
9:15.
At 9:15.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty. Motion's on the floor that we set this public hearing on Methane Power Wayne, October the 1st, 9:15. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All those opposed, thank you. That was unanimous. Resolution requesting Wayne Correctional Center from State of North Carolina. Mr. Bell.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Whereas a result of the state budget for fiscal year 2013-2015, the Wayne County Correctional Center, operated by the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, was scheduled for closure. And whereas the closure of this facility creates an opportunity for the Wayne County to acquire the facility for the use as a Wayne County Detention Center. And whereas the existing 200-bed Wayne County Detention Center has been consistently overcrowded for years, requiring inmates to be incarcerated in out-of-state county facilities. And whereas the state of North Carolina jail inspector has inquired as to how Wayne County planned to address the overcrowdedness condition. And whereas Wayne County desires to operate the Wayne Correctional Center as a detention center with few modifications. And whereas the conversion of the Wayne Correctional Center to be a county detention center would be the most economical means of providing the county detention center capacity need. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners hereby request the state of North Carolina to make the Wayne Correctional Center available to Wayne County for the use as a Wayne County Detention Center. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the state of North Carolina allow the Wayne County Board of Commissioners and its employees and agents to go into the Wayne County Correctional Center as soon as the inmates have been released, as Wayne County can determine the cost of improving and upfitting the facility to serve as a detention center. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that a copy of the resolution be sent to members of the North Carolina General Assembly who represent Wayne County, Mr. W. David Geis, Commissioner of Division of Adult Correction with the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, adopted this 17th day of September 2013. Steve King, Chairman. I put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. The motion's on the floor that we adopt this resolution. Any discussion? I have one. There's some concern, as brought up by several commissioners, ever since this has come to on the radar, is what their state's doing in closing these 5 jails or 5 prisons. I like to commend Commissioner Bell and facilities director, Ray Mayo, and the county manager, and really all the commissioners who have stepped up in putting this type of resolution together, showing that Wayne County needs this to receive funds from other counties if we're going to house prisoners and make it a money-making project to help the economy. As one of the commissioners, Daughtery, has mentioned, we're looking at somewhere over $1 million going out just by taking prisoners and putting them somewhere else in other counties and paying for that to be done. And all through this resolution, it's not taking care of just a probation offender. We're taking hard criminals,
Right.
and we're housing these criminals in these facilities, and that's I like the way it's constructed. You guys did a good job, Commissioner Bell, putting this resolution together. And, that would put us at 400 some out there and 200 here locally.
Yeah. That's true.
Any other comments? I know we're excited about this.
Oh, yeah.
If not, then we'll vote. All those in favor of the resolution, raise your hand. All those opposed? Thank you. That's unanimous. Good job. Good job. Did Chip, he's here. Mr. Smith.
He's back.
Planning.
Yeah. Mr. Chip Crumpler, if you come forward and talk about number 13 and 14, please.
Okay. Item 13 is an Old Bill Creek Section 2 final subdivision plat for approval. It is owner-developer Sasser Home Builders. The surveyor is Deering and Associates Land Surveying. It's consisting of 22 lots on 14.49 acres on the west side of Perkins Road, which is SR 1319, approximately across from North Point Drive. The property is within the conical area zone surrounding Wayne Executive Jetport. It is also within an urban transition area on our growth strategy map, and the current use of the property is vacant. There's 23 lots, average lot size 27,442 square feet. All of the lots will be accessed by a new interior street except lot 47, which fronts on Perkins Road. 3 interior lots will be accessed by a private drive from the end of Millstone Drive, and all the streets have been paved and all utilities are in place. It is within the Aycock High School, Norwayne Middle, Northwest Elementary School Districts, Belfast Fire, serviced by EMS Station 2, and it's serviced by Belfast Patetown Water District. It is located within the Goldsboro MPO area, and it is within a watershed protection area for the Little River. It's not in a voluntary ag district, it's not in a flood zone, but there are some wetlands in place, and it's in Commissioner District 1. The recommendation of the Wayne County Planning Board is that the plat be approved as presented.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayo.
Make a motion that we approve this as presented.
Motion's on the floor that we accept this as presented, this plat. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay. Item 14 is a revision to a previous subdivision, which was Willowbrook Section 5. It's a modification of 4 lots at the rear of Willowbrook subdivision. The owner-developer is James Teachy. The surveyor is Mike Benton. It is in the Buckswamp Township. It consists of 4 lots on the north side of Willowbrook Drive, 3,800 feet from Nahunta Road. The property is not within a zoned area. It is within a rural area and a conservation area on our growth strategy map. The subdivision will have 4 lots that are being created at the rear of 4 existing lots. The new rear lots are within the floodplain for the Nahunta Swamp. The separation of the 4 lots will allow the remaining front lots to be sold without having any portion of those lots being within the flood zone. This will allow the buyer to purchase the house and home on the front lots without the necessity of having flood insurance. The rear lots are being created in violation of the county subdivision ordinance section 70-101, where that states that we will not allow or prohibit lots being created that are partially in a floodplain and do not have enough area outside of the floodplain to meet our minimum lot size requirements. So they are asking for two things: a variance on that section of the subdivision ordinance and approval of the revision of the subdivision plat. The Wayne County Planning Board recommends that the plat be approved as presented and the variance be approved.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we accept it.
Mr. Aycock,
Mr. Chair.
motions on the floor that we accept this by Mr. Aycock. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Daugherty.
From what I'm seeing on lot 94, you've got a 94A and B. What is 94A? Is that an off-site?
No, the front is 94, lot 94, and then you have a 94B at the rear. 94B is the area that has flood zone.
Yeah, but if you look across, there's a 94A.
Oh, yeah, that's the off-site.
So that is off-site.
Yeah, 94A is an off-site.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The question, Mr. Crumpler, 94B, it's 1.1 acre. And you have probably 90% of that in the floodplain, or flood zone, 100-year flood zone. Now, the way I understand it, you'll be able to sell that lot?
95B.
94B.
94B would have to go with lot 94. It's noted on the plat that 94 is to be conveyed with the lot in front of it.
Can you build a dwelling on 94B in the white area?
If you build a building or structure on that, it would have to be elevated above base flood elevation 2 feet.
Would it have to follow setback rules off the line?
Yes.
What is the setback rule on that particular line?
25 feet from the rear, 10 from the sides, 35 feet from the street.
35, there's no street. This is 94B and 94.
Yes.
So I'm looking at 94B, the building space.
It is over an acre.
1.1 acre, 94B. But you would rather not build in the 100-year flood zone?
You'd have to elevate it above it. You'd have to elevate it above it.
Right. Anywhere in there?
Yeah, there is a note on here that states that those lots will be conveyed with the front.
Okay. That's 93, 94, and 95, and 92.
And 92 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're creating 4 non-conforming lots.
Okay. Now, access, since those will be sold together, then the access will not be an issue
But
to
they-
92B.
They did leave access easements there along the property lines.
I got it. Now, my last question would be in reference to the ordinance. This is a variance to the ordinance that does not allow this. So are you switching from the plat going into the governance of the county? Do you see more of this coming where we might need to look at the ordinance?
Possibly. You may see that in a case. I think the problem is you have a large lot there. When somebody constructs a home and there's a part of the floodplain on that lot, the lenders pick that up as being in a flood zone, so proof of, flood insurance or proof that, or of the elevation of the home is going to be required on the buyer.
Just a suggestion as we move forward on a comprehensive land use plan that we indicate an ordinance, possible ordinance change in reference to this if we're going to start allowing this in the county in these floodplains, if we're going to designate a 100-year floodplain or 500-year floodplain. And I know that the FEMA exam or whatever they're doing this week, I sat on it yesterday morning for about an hour. And looking at these issues for the future, we might need to look at adjusting the ordinance because of the makeup of our county. if, in planning, you might want to look at that. Just a suggestion. Mr. Mayo, wait, okay, let me just make sure I got all my questions. Was there anything that came up in the planning board that was of question here? Okay, any discussion? All right. Okay, I've got it. Mr. Mayo.
So, looking at lot 94 and 94B, did I understand you that 94B would be conveyed to whoever bought 94? So they'd have two different deeds then?
Correct.
Okay, all right, I understand.
Yes, sir.
Not necessarily.
Well, they could be in one deed, but it would be two references in the deed to two tracks.
Two property
tracks.
lines then?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Two tracks.
Two tracks. Okay, yeah, I got you.
Could be in one deed, though.
Yeah, I got you.
Mr. Aycock and then Mr. Daugherty.
Chip, correct me if I'm wrong, in the initial plot or plat that Mr. Teachy turned in, these lots were not divided?
Correct.
And the purpose in doing this is, if he'd had sold them as they were originally in the plat, they would have been required to elevate the houses or certainly not build.
They would have had to have had an elevation certificate to verify the elevation of the house was above, 2 feet above the flood elevation, which probably wouldn't have been an issue.
Right, but the purpose in splitting them like this is so he can sell those front lots, and the back part will be part of like 92, 92B, 93, so on. But the purpose was so he could dispose of this land, because it was going to be more difficult for him to get rid of these lots without doing this. It's really, he's not doing anything wrong. I mean, it can fall in, the Hunter Swamp would be considered a blue line. And he still is having to own property between this subdivision and the actual swamp. So it's a way for him to get rid of some of this land much easier than the initial plot that was turned in.
Mr. Daugherty.
I think the only concern that I would have, if you've got it designated as a separate lot, now, and on the plot plan here, it is saying that it is, are not buildable lots and shall be conveyed with those lots. But the problem is, once I get the deed and it's deeded to me as 94, 94B, and 94A, and I ended up paying off the mortgage, and I no longer have a mortgage on it, what is to prevent me from selling you, Chip, 94B in 20 years? And you say, well, I got sewerage out there and I want to build on that lot. In other words, I don't see any restriction here that would prevent the purchaser from selling off those portions.
That's correct.
That is correct.
That is, he's right. You're right. He's right.
Should we not have something in here that would prevent that from, or not?
My guess is that the bank is not going to want to take the back part, so that if you bought it and didn't pay your mortgage, they probably foreclose, just get the front, and you still own the back.
Understand, but what I'm saying, if you don't have a mortgage on it, you paid the mortgage off, it's free and clear, and it then could be sold as a separate lot, could it not? Because it's got
yes, clearly it could.
It's clearly on the plot plan. And am I correct in saying that if you buy a piece of property, there has to be access provided to you?
He's got it on there.
There's already access provided to it.
Wait a second.
So that's my only question. When you're doing this, do we open up another Pandora's box in regards to the possibility of problems of selling off a piece of property at a later time?
Yes, but I think anybody who is familiar with the Nahana Swamp Canal that would look at it would understand if it looks like some of my property that is next to the canal.
People sell swampland all the time. I just don't know whether or not we would want to have something on the plot plan stating that they are connected and are not to be subdivided or divided off. I mean, that's just my question.
Well, here again, wait just a second, please. I've got Mr. Camardi and I got Ms. Aycock, but I need to make a comment, please. Mr. Daugherty, his comment was, that's the long same thing. Mr. Camardi, then Mr. Aycock.
Since it's all laid out here in plain drawings and everything, who are we trying to, who are we trying to protect? I mean, I hear you saying it, Mr. Daugherty, but anyone who's, I think the attorney, anyone's familiar with this is gonna see what's there, and anyone who's gonna buy that would have to be, the information have to be divulged to them as to what that lot was and what regulations gonna take to be able to build on it. So it's not like you're blindsiding anyone. They would see what that was, and if they, as a big boy, if they decide to buy it, they would have to follow the regulations to be able to build on it.
I understand. I just want to make sure everybody's aware that we are possibly opening up Pandora's box.
Well, I don't think, I wouldn't call it Pandora's box,
Well,
because it's all done up front, and the person who's gonna purchase it will know that. And it didn't raise, it was discussed in the planning meeting, but it wasn't to the point where we were concerned that somebody could get blindsided, or it wasn't in plain sight to understand why the person was doing it, because it needed to be better, just like it's been said here on this session. It's advantageous for the person to get really have both of those together to be able to sell it.
It's a lot like off-site septic lot, an A and a B. For an off-site septic lot, you've got a deeded off separate portion. You know, they could become disconnected at some point in time. And
Not
it could be
contiguous.
trouble, but I mean, if we do it, you know, it has to be done, you know, all the time like that, so.
Mr. Aycock.
Yes, even say, I mean, it was, you know, when the mortgage is paid off, whatever, then if they wanted to sell it, whatever, even if they did do that, 94B, they would still have to have the proper permits and all, and that's where it's going to play into it, because it's going to be virtually impossible to get a permit to build on it. Even probably as time goes on, it'll probably be even more strenuous than it is now.
Okay. Any others? Mr. Mayo.
I don't really see the difference in having two than one, because if you were to sell that in one, if the property owner wanted to, if they were willing to get the permits and so forth, they could actually build in the 100-year floodplain if they wanted to, if they own the whole lot. So we have access. I think the key is that there is access to these lots. So, and the access is already there. They're not going to have to get a right-of-way to come across somebody else's property when this is sold. Am I correct?
Correct.
There's already access to these three lots. So as a result, I don't have a problem with it.
Any other comments? Just a comment to reiterate that this is an ordinance that is set up. This is not standard. This is going against the ordinance. They're asking for a variance. I do have some issues as far as creating new property lines and having new setback rules for speculative future buyers if there was issues. The second thing I have an issue with is that all the easements fall into the 100-year floodplain, and not just clean property. The easements drop right into the 100-year flood zone. Flood zones are flood zones, and they're defined hydrology and hydraulics of water when you have to get to something, whether it's accessible or not. When you have an easement dumping into a flood zone, if you've got potential flooding, then you can't get in and you can't get out. I just got, an issue with that. But here again, the planning board has brought us this, and there's a lot of good heads on that planning board. And if it would disappoint me a little bit if they didn't hammer it out, Mr. Camardi, but you're on the board, and you're saying, and I'm hearing it from Mr. Crumpler that there was nothing really contentious or whatever, but, you know, they are asking for a variance of a ordinance that has been voted on by a previous board to follow these guidelines. And if we go forward with our comprehensive land use plan, again, that this is important enough that if we're going through this and there are people who have properties that they're trying to deal with their properties, then we need to address it moving forward. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion of accepting this plat, raise your hand. It's unanimous. All those opposed? There are nobody opposing. That was unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Crumpler.
Thank you.
Our closed session. Boy, am I hungry. And we've got food back there. I think we're supposed to eat 11:30 or something. It's probably cold by now.
Yeah, microwave.
Board Commissioners' comments. Mr. Bell.
I yield my time to Mr. Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Daugherty.
I've got about 30-minute process. No, I yield to Mr. Mayo.
I have
No
no
comment.
I have no comment, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cromartie. Sorry. Mr. Cromartie.
I'll reserve my comments to another day.
Thank you. Mr. Payton.
Just one quick comment. Kind of disheartened about the events that took place in Washington, D.C. yesterday, and it really brings perspective to our lives. You know, sometimes we argue over things that we think are really important, but what happened yesterday really, brings that to perspective. It's your life and your property and your family. So these people have a lot of heavy burdens on them right now, those families that were impacted. So we need to remember them in our thoughts and prayers tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Acock.
Yes, sir. I need just a minute for clarification on something. I was not at the last board meeting because of health reasons. I don't know whether y'all, I'm quite sure you do, always on our packet, the last couple of pages pertains to new hirings or promotions or movement in the county employees. And I was going over last month, and I've intended to say something to that meeting, but like I say, I was not able to attend. And I do have copies of those last two pages if anyone wants them. Mr. Smith, if you want one. My question is, you go down the list and you look, and nothing against any of these employees now, but you go down the list and you look at the salaries. Scale operator at landfill, $10 an hour. Elections specialist, $10 an hour. Another one down solid waste, $7.25 an hour. And on the back, the second page is the one I really want to point out. Number 11, detention center, a detention officer, part-time, $10.91 an hour. All right, and if you go back up to number 5, pertaining to the library, you got library security, part-time, $20 an hour. I need some clarification on that.
That's police officer, off-duty police officer, that's a contract, off-duty police officer with the city of Goldsboro. Most of these you see are part-time people, not full-time.
My question is, you got an employee, a part-time at the detention center, and the last count I had, we got close to 40 inmates in there that's on either death row, not on death row, but charged with murder or attempted murder. And you paying that employee $10.91 an hour, and you paying somebody at the library $20 an hour. I got a problem with that. That's all I got to say.
Well, some of that is certification or not certified. If they're not certified, they can't get the higher rate. They got to be certified first. And sometimes they're brought on a part-time basis until they get their certification. That's what you're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Real quick, again, I appreciate the commissioners spending time in the hours of the day, every day, doing what you do. we've had a lot of work that has been accomplished today. There's been a lot of minds at the table, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of time, a lot of passion. And there was something said about trust earlier. There's 122,000 people in Wayne County, and we're sitting here because the majority of the 122,000 elected us because they trusted us. And there was also a reference to a Bible, book of the Bible, Luke, who also wrote the book of Acts, that with much that is given, much is required. From what I have witnessed on this board since I've been here and seen this board in action, I can honestly say that this board has spent hours and hours and hours doing exactly what the people have elected them to do. I know I have, and I can also speak for the rest of them, because as chairman, it was my responsibility to fill the gaps on these committees, and I've watched them all and given them all a task, and they've done that, and it's taken a lot of time. I've also witnessed a couple of commissioners apologize openly about things that they have said and done openly. There's a lot of us in our humanism would take that as prideful and not do it. But I think it takes divine intervention for anyone to stand before someone else and apologize to the public. I just don't think we're humanly possibly that can happen. I think that takes divine intervention. So, you know, that I have witnessed that, and I think thousands of others who watch us on TV also witness that. So everyone in their own right has that podium to come before this commission and speak whatever they want to. That's why we increased it to 4 minutes instead of 3, and that's why we give you 2 times a month to do it, which that wasn't allowed before. So we welcome and we're sensitive to those people who come before us. But we have a job to do, and we've all stood up to the plate and said, you know, it's time for us to give hours, not O-U-R-S, but H-O-U-R, hours, our time to do what we do. And people say, I couldn't do it. Well, sometimes we get in our wives and our children and our grandchildren and our nieces and nephews, and they say, why do you do it? Why do y'all get pounded? Why is it that you're considered rhetoric dealings with the public? Why are just good things only on Saturday? There are good things every day through the week, Monday through Sunday. 365 days a year, something great is going on in Wayne County. We just don't live off of bad news. We live off of what's good in this county. We got 122,000 people that we're responsible. Yes, with much that is given, much is required. And our management, our staff, and our council, and our clerk, and our finance director, and those who work for the county of Wayne give it their guts every day. And yeah, we've got problems. We're not perfect. But we certainly do try to do our best with no individual agendas. It's for the people of this county. And that's what I've witnessed, because I've been right in the middle of it since January. I don't have anything else to say, but thank you for coming. Do I have a motion that we adjourn? Thank you, Mr. Mayo.